I was sitting under the Christmas tree I had decorated for them, the one that stood tall and proud in the corner of the living room I had called home for 20 years, when my phone rang. The lights were twinkling red, green, gold, just like always. The scent of fresh pine filled the air, mixed with the cinnamon cookies I had baked that morning. Under the tree were 47 wrapped gifts, each one chosen with love, each one paid for with money I had saved from my nurse's salary and the small pension Tom left behind. It was my son, Jake. His voice came through the speaker, flat and cold, like he was reading off a grocery list instead of talking to the woman who had raised him. "Mom, we're moving into your house tomorrow. Already sold it. Needed the cash for the new place in Frisco. You'll get your cut, $40,000. Should cover a studio apartment somewhere. Merry Christmas. Bye." And then the line went dead. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there on the hardwood floor, surrounded by the gifts I had wrapped with such care, and stared at the tree. The star on top, the same one Tom and I had bought the first year we moved into this house, seemed to mock me now. My name is Evelyn Harper. I'm 72 years old. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Not broken, not defeated, just calm. Because there was something my dear son didn't know, something his wife Brooke didn't know, something even I had forgotten until that very second. Let me take you back. This house, this little 3-bedroom ranch in Plano, Texas, was more than just walls and a roof. It was where Tom and I had built our life. We bought it in 2005 for $187,000, every penny scraped together from double shifts at the hospital and Tom's overtime at the garage. That first Christmas, Jake was 18, just accepted into UT Austin on a partial scholarship. Tom had hung the lights outside while I strung the same strand of multicolored bulbs around the tree. He had kissed my forehead and said, "This tree is for family, Ev. Every year, no matter what, we fill it with love." And we did, every single year. In 2010, Brooke came into the picture. Jake brought her home for Christmas, all nervous and proud. I bought her a Kate Spade purse, $400, more than I could afford, but I wanted her to feel welcome. She had hugged me and said, "Thank you, Mama Evelyn," and I had believed her. In 2015, Mason was born, my first grandchild. I knitted his stocking myself, stitched his name in red yarn across the white cuff. I bought him a rocking horse that played Jingle Bells when you pressed its ear. Jake had laughed and said, "Mom, you're spoiling him," but his eyes were soft. Even in 2020, when the world shut down, I kept the tradition alive. I drove 47 miles to their porch in the middle of the night, left a box of gifts and cookies, and waved through the window. Brooke had posted a photo on Instagram. Obsessed with my new mixer, #blessed. No tag, no mention of me. I told myself it didn't matter. Last year, Tom died. A stroke, right there in the garage while he was hanging the outdoor lights. He had been humming White Christmas, the same song every year. I found him slumped against the ladder, the string of lights still in his hand. The funeral was small. Jake spoke, Brooke cried prettily, Mason clung to my leg. After that, I kept going, because that's what you do. You keep going. This year, I had spent $8,347.62. I had the receipts: a KitchenAid mixer for Brooke, a PlayStation 5 for Mason, a Tiffany necklace for Jake, because he had mentioned once, in passing, that he liked the way the silver caught the light. I had wrapped each gift with the same care I had used for 20 years. Red paper for Brooke, green for Mason, gold for Jake. Each tag written in my careful cursive. To name, love, Mama Evelyn. And now, on Christmas Eve, they had taken my home. I stood up slowly, my knees creaking like the old floorboards. I walked to the bedroom Tom and I had shared for so long. The bed was still made the way he liked it, hospital corners, pillows fluffed just so. I opened the nightstand drawer. There, beneath the Bible and the spare reading glasses, was a yellow legal envelope. Tom's handwriting on the front. For Evelyn, open only if they forget who you are. My hands didn't shake, not anymore. I carried the envelope to the garage. The air was cold, smelled of oil and pine needles from the boxes of decorations I had pulled out weeks ago. I moved the holiday bins aside, reached up to the rafters, and found the false panel Tom had shown me once, years ago when he was drunk on eggnog and feeling sentimental. Inside was a small safe. The combination was our anniversary, 08-14-77. I opened it. Inside were stock certificates, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, bought in the 90s when Tom had insisted we invest in the future. There were deeds to 3 rental properties in Austin, purchased quietly over the years, and a bank letter, crisp and official. Harper Family Trust. Current value, $2.1 million. Sole beneficiary, Evelyn Harper. Tom had never told me, not once. He had taken every bonus, every tax refund, every skipped vacation, and built this for us, for me. There was a note in his handwriting, folded small. Ev, I didn't want them to love the money. I wanted them to love us. If they ever forget that, use this. You deserve to be safe. Love always, Tom. I folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. I had $63 in my purse. No car. They had sold Tom's truck too, I later learned, for scrap. I called an Uber with the last of my phone battery. The driver, a kind man named Luis, didn't ask questions when I gave him the address of the First Baptist shelter downtown. The shelter was warm at least. Miss Rosa, a volunteer with kind eyes and a voice like molasses, gave me a cot near the back. "First time, honey?" she asked. Jake stood in the snow-dusted driveway, the manila envelope hanging loose in his hand like a dead thing. The process server, still in his Santa suit, tipped his red hat and walked off whistling Jingle Bells. Brooke's Starbucks cup slipped from her fingers and shattered on the concrete, brown liquid spreading like blood. Mason peeked out from behind her leg, clutching the PlayStation box to his chest. Jake's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out at first. Then, "Mom, this can't be right. The realtor said the title was clean. We closed yesterday." I didn't move from Mrs. Gutierrez's hedge. The cold bit through Tom's flannel, but I felt warm. Warm with the kind of fire that had been banked for 20 years and was finally allowed to burn. "Clean?" I said. "You forged my signature on a power of attorney while I was at the cardiologist. That's not clean, Jake. That's fraud." Brooke found her voice. It came out shrill, the way it did when Mason spilled juice on her white couch. "Fraud? Evelyn, we were helping you. You're 72. You can't manage this big house alone. The doctor said my heart is fine," I cut in. "You said I was confused. You said I needed rest. You said a lot of things, Brooke." Mason tugged Brooke's sleeve. "Mommy, why is Grandma mad? Did I do something?" Brooke knelt, smoothing his hair with trembling fingers. "No, baby. Grandma's just tired." I looked at my grandson, 10 years old. Same cowlick Tom had. Same gap-toothed smile. He didn't understand yet. That was the only mercy. "Mason," I said gently, "go inside and plug in your new game. I need to talk to your parents." He hesitated, then obeyed. Because even at 10, he still listened to Mama Evelyn. Jake waited until the front door clicked shut. Then the begging started. "Mom, please, we can fix this. We'll give the money back. "You already spent it," I said. $40,000 on a deposit for the Frisco house. Another 20 on Brooke's new SUV. I saw the Venmo, Jake. I'm old, not blind. Brooke's face crumpled. "We thought you'd be proud. A bigger house, better schools for Mason. We were upgrading the family." "Upgrading," I repeated. The word tasted like ash. "Tell me, Brooke, when you posted that photo last night, the one with the champagne and the caption, 'New Beginnings,' did you think of me sleeping on a cot at the shelter? Did you think of the cinnamon cookies I baked for Mason's class party that you threw in the trash because they weren't organic?" Silence. Snow kept falling. Jake tried again. We'll move out, today. You can have the house back. Just don't ruin us. Ruin you? I laughed. It came out rusty. Son, you did that all by yourself. I pulled a second envelope from my coat pocket, smaller, sealed with red wax. Tom's seal, the one he used for important papers. This, I said, is your 30-day eviction notice. Legal, binding. Mr. Langford filed it at 8:02 this morning. You have until January 24th to vacate. Brooke lunged forward. You can't. We have nowhere to go. There's a motel off 75, I said. Clean, $39 a night. I checked. Jake's eyes filled. Actual tears. I hadn't seen him cry since he was 8 and broke his arm falling off the trampoline. Mom, I'm sorry. I swear, we'll make it right. Sorry doesn't buy back a lifetime of Christmases, I said. But it's a start. I turned to leave. Jake called after me. Where are you going? To the shelter, I said over my shoulder. Miss Rosa saved me a cot. And tomorrow, I'm volunteering at the Christmas dinner for the homeless. Someone has to serve the turkey. I walked the 3 miles back to the shelter. My boots, Tom's old work boots, were soaked through. But I didn't feel the cold. People stared. An old lady in a flannel shirt, carrying nothing but a purse and a heart full of steel. Miss Rosa met me at the door. Evelyn Harper, you look like you just won the lottery. In a way, I said, I did. She led me to the kitchen. The smell of roasting turkey and sage filled the air. Volunteers bustled. Teenagers in Santa hats, grandpas in aprons. Someone had strung dollar store lights around the serving counter. Table for 1, Miss Rosa teased. Table for 200, I said. I'm buying dinner. I handed her my debit card, the one linked to the Harper Trust. She stared at the black Amex. Lord have mercy, you're that Evelyn. I'm just Evelyn, I said, but tonight I'm Santa. We served 217 people. Mashed potatoes, gravy, cranberry sauce from a can, but warm. Kids got candy canes, adults got hope. I ladled gravy until my arm ached. A little girl, the one with the ragged teddy, tugged my sleeve. Are you Mrs. Claus? She whispered. Something like that, I said, and slipped an extra cookie onto her plate. Jake texted at 7:14 p.m. Jake, we're packing. Can we talk, please? I didn't answer. At 8:02, Brooke called. I let it ring. At 9:11, Mason FaceTimed. His face filled the screen, red eyes, quivering lip. Grandma, why can't we stay? I left my Lego set under the tree. My heart cracked. Just a little. Mason, honey, grown-ups made a mistake, but you'll get your Legos back, I promise. Will you come for New Year's? We'll see, I said. Now go help your mom. I hung up before he could cry. That night, I slept on the cot again. Not because I had to, because I wanted to remember. Miss Rosa brought me a blanket. You know you don't belong here. I know, I said, but neither do they. She sat beside me. What happens next? Next, I said, they learn what it costs to rebuild a family. January 1st, the Frisco house. Jake and Brooke had moved into the half-finished McMansion in Frisco. No furniture yet, just air mattresses and the gifts I'd bought. The PlayStation sat unopened in a corner. Brooke was on the phone with the bank when I arrived, unannounced, uninvited. She wore yoga pants and yesterday's mascara. The deposit check bounced, she hissed into the phone. No, I don't know why. I cleared my throat. She spun around. Evelyn? Brooke. Jake appeared from the garage, arms full of flattened boxes. He froze. Mom, you came. I said I would. Brooke hung up. The bank says the trust fund never existed, that we committed fraud. Correct, I said. Jake dropped the boxes. What do you want? 3 things, I said. I laid them out like a deck of cards. A public apology, posted on Instagram, tagged, no filters. Repayment, every cent of the $40,000 plus interest. Mason spends every weekend with me until he's 18. Brooke laughed, high, brittle. You're blackmailing us? No, I said. I'm giving you a choice. Take it, or I press charges. Mr. Langford's waiting. Silence, the kind that rings in your ears. Jake spoke first. We'll do it. Brooke started to protest. He cut her off. We'll do it. January 7th, the apology post. Brooke's Instagram, 2,847 followers. We made a terrible mistake. We sold my mother-in-law's home without her consent. We hurt the woman who raised Jake, who loved us unconditionally. We are returning every penny and asking for forgiveness. Evelyn Harper, we are so sorry. Hashtag family first. Hashtag learning. 4,112 likes, 892 comments, half sympathy, half rage. I didn't like it. I didn't need to. January 14th, the first weekend. Mason arrived with a backpack and a shy smile. I picked him up in Tom's old Ford, repossessed, and returned by the dealer after Mr. Langford's call. We baked cookies, watched Elf, built a Lego castle on the living room floor. At bedtime, he asked, Grandma, are Mommy and Daddy in trouble? They're learning, I said, like when you touch a hot stove. Will they get burned? Only if they don't listen. January 21st, the repayment. A cashier's check arrived, $43,200, interest included. I endorse it to the shelter. Miss Rosa cried when I handed it over. For the kids, I said, so no one sleeps hungry on Christmas Eve again. Jake called that night. We're broke, Mom. The Frisco house is in foreclosure. Brooke's SUV got repossessed. We're moving into a one-bedroom off 75. I said nothing. Please, he whispered, help us. Help starts with truth, I said. Call when you're ready to tell Mason why his Christmas was stolen. I hung up. The shelter became my second home. I cooked, I served, I listened to stories, worse than mine, better than mine. I learned that strength isn't loud, it's quiet, it's showing up. One night, a woman named Carla, 42, 2 kids, fresh from a shelter in Houston, asked, How do you keep going? I thought of Tom, of the envelope, of the cot. I said, you decide who gets to write the ending. The one-bedroom apartment off Highway 75 smelled like burnt ramen and broken dreams. I knew because I drove past it every Thursday on my way to the shelter. Jake had texted the address, Unit 2B, second floor, balcony facing the dumpster. He didn't ask me to come, he just sent it, like a white flag made of numbers. I didn't go, not yet. Instead, I went to Austin. The 3 rental properties Tom had bought quietly over the years were modest but solid. A duplex on East 12th, a 4-plex near the university, and a little bungalow on Manor Road with a pecan tree in the front yard. I hadn't seen them in person since Tom's death. Mr. Langford had managed them through a property company, rent deposited, repairs handled, statements mailed. I had ignored the statements. Grief does that. Now I walked through each one with the new manager, a sharp young woman named Marisol who wore red cowboy boots and called me ma'am without making it sound old. Mrs. Harper, she said at the bungalow, these places are gold. Low vacancy, long-term tenants, equity through the roof. You could sell tomorrow and walk away with another $1 million. I'm not selling, I said. I'm redecorating. She raised an eyebrow. With what theme? Second chances. Back in Plano, the shelter had become my classroom. Every Tuesday night, I taught a class called Money and Mercy. 10 women, 2 men, all fresh from rock bottom. We sat in folding chairs under fluorescent lights and talked about budgets, credit scores, and the difference between needing and wanting. Carla, the woman from Houston, was my star pupil. She had started a side hustle selling tamales out of her minivan. I fronted her the ingredients. She paid me back in 3 weeks, plus a pan of pork tamales that made Miss Rosa cry. One night, Carla asked, "Miss Evelyn, how do you know when someone's really changed?" I thought of Jake's apology post, of Brooke's SUV sitting on cinder blocks in the impound lot. "You don't," I said. "You watch, you wait, and you set boundaries like fences, strong enough to keep the bulls out, but with a gate for the calves." February 14th, Valentine's Day. Mason's school had a grandparents' lunch. Jake texted at 6:03 a.m. "Jake, can you pick Mason up? We're short on gas." I arrived at 11:45. Mason ran to me in the cafeteria, tie crooked, chocolate milk mustache. "Grandma, I saved you the corner table." We ate chicken nuggets and tater tots. He showed me his Valentine's box, construction paper, glitter, hearts cut from cereal boxes. "I made one for you," he whispered, sliding a card across the table. Inside, a crayon drawing of me, him, and a Christmas tree. Underneath, in wobbly letters, "To Grandma, I miss our house. Love, Mason." I tucked it into my purse next to Tom's note. That night, Brooke called, first time in weeks. Her voice was small, stripped of its usual polish. "Evelyn, I got a job. Night shift at Walmart, stocking shelves. It's not glamorous, but it's something." I waited. "I start tomorrow," she continued. "Jake's interviewing at the dealership, used cars. He hates it, but it's honest," I finished. Silence. Then, "Mason asked if he could live with you, just part-time. He says he sleeps better at your house." My throat tightened. "What did you tell him?" "That we'd talk about it, after we prove ourselves." February 28th. The eviction deadline loomed. Jake and Brooke had until March 24th to vacate my house. I still hadn't decided what to do with it. Mr. Langford called. "The Frisco builder is threatening to sue for breach of contract. They want their deposit back, plus damages." "Let them," I said. "I'll countersue for emotional distress. See how they like sleeping on cots." He chuckled. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said. "I'm surviving it." March 1st. I drove to the apartment, Unit 2B. The balcony sagged. A single string of Christmas lights, still up from December, blinked weakly against the railing. I knocked. Jake opened the door. He had lost weight. His beard was patchy. He wore the same sweatshirt from college, holes in the sleeves. "Mom." "Jake?" Brooke hovered behind him, arms crossed tight. Mason sat on the floor, building a Lego wall between the kitchen and the living room. "Grandma." He ran to me, hugged my legs. I knelt. "Hey, sugar, brought you something." I handed him a small box. Inside, a new Lego set, the Millennium Falcon he'd left under the tree. His eyes went wide. Brooke's voice cracked. "We can't afford." "It's paid for," I said. "By me, not you." Jake swallowed. "Can we talk?" We sat at a card table that wobbled. Mason played in the corner. Jake spoke first. "We're trying, really. I got the job at the dealership. Brooke's at Walmart. We're paying rent here. It's late, but we're trying." Brooke nodded. "I hate the night shift. My feet kill me. But I clock in every night." I looked around. One bedroom. Mason's room was a corner with a sleeping bag. The fridge hummed too loud. A single houseplant drooped on the windowsill. "You kept the Christmas lights up," I said. Brooke flushed. "Mason wouldn't let us take them down. Says they remind him of you." I stood, walked to the balcony, looked out at the dumpster, the highway, the endless stream of headlights. "You know what I see?" I said. They waited. "I see a family that forgot what home feels like. Not the walls, not the gifts, the feeling." Jake's voice broke. "We get it now. We do." "Do you?" I turned. "Because getting it isn't enough. Living it is." Brooke whispered, "What do you want from us?" I pulled an envelope from my purse, not manila this time, white, sealed with a gold sticker. "Open it." Inside, a lease agreement for the bungalow on Manor Road in Austin, 1 year. Rent, $1. Jake stared. You're giving us a house? No, I said. I'm giving you a chance. You pay utilities, you maintain it, you plant flowers in the spring, and every Sunday you bring Mason to me for dinner. No excuses. Brooke's eyes filled. Why? Because Mason deserves a yard, and because second chances aren't free, they're earned. March 15th, moving day. I stood in my old house, now empty, echoing. The Christmas tree was gone, the gifts returned or donated. The walls bore fresh scuffs from Jake's frantic packing. Mason ran through the rooms. Grandma, it smells like us. I smiled. It smells like memories, good ones. Jake loaded the last box into a borrowed pickup. Brooke carried a single houseplant, the droopy one from the apartment. She had nursed it back to life with water and apologies. At the door, Jake stopped. Mom, the house, what are you going to do with it? I looked around. The fireplace where we'd hung stockings. The kitchen where I'd baked 1,000 cookies. The garage where Tom had died. I'm selling it, I said, to the shelter. They're turning it into a transitional home for single moms, 12 bedrooms, a playground, a garden. Brooke gasped. Our home? Your home was never the walls, I said. It was the love inside them, and love moves. March 22nd, the bungalow. I arrived with a welcome basket, fresh pecans, a loaf of bread, a tiny pecan tree sapling for the yard. Mason ran barefoot across the grass. Grandma, there's a swing. Jake and Brooke stood on the porch. They looked smaller, humbler. Jake took the basket. Thank you. Don't thank me, I said. Thank the woman who'll sleep in your old bedroom next Christmas. Thank the child who'll open gifts under a tree you'll never see. Brooke's voice was barely a whisper. We will, every day. That night, I drove back to Plano. The house was dark, waiting for its new purpose. I sat in the driveway and called Miss Rosa. It's yours, I said, closing next week. She cried, Evelyn Harper, you are a miracle. No, I said, I'm just a grandma who learned that justice isn't punishment. It's planting trees you'll never sit under. The first crack came on a Tuesday in April, 3 weeks after they moved into the Manor Road bungalow. I was at the shelter, folding tiny t-shirts for the donation bin when my phone buzzed. Brooke, I can't do this. I quit. No punctuation, no explanation, just those 5 words. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Then I dialed. She answered on the 4th ring, voice raw like she'd been crying in the stockroom. Evelyn? Talk to me. A long pause, then the flood. I lasted 11 shifts. 11. Last night, the manager wrote me up for being 30 seconds late clocking in. 30 seconds. I have blisters on my feet. Mason's school called because he forgot his lunch again. And Jake didn't come home until 2 a.m. He said he was networking at a bar. I closed my eyes. Where are you now? Parking lot, Walmart, sitting in the car with the engine off because gas is $4 a gallon. Stay there. I told Miss Rosa I had a family emergency. She didn't ask questions, just handed me the keys to the shelter van. Walmart parking lot, 3:17 p.m. Brooke sat in their dented Honda Civic, forehead against the steering wheel. Her uniform shirt was untucked, name tag crooked. When I tapped the window, she jumped like I'd caught her stealing. I opened the passenger door and slid in. The car smelled like French fries and despair. I'm a failure, she whispered. You're tired, I corrected. She laughed, wet, broken. I used to get manicures every 2 weeks. Now I can't afford a $10 bottle of nail polish. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small tin. Inside, homemade sugar scrub, lavender oil, a note in my handwriting, for hands that work. Brooke stared. You made this. Last night. Thought you might need it. She started crying again, but softer this time. I let her. Sometimes tears are the only honest thing left. When she could breathe, I said, Tell me about the write-up. He said I was on my phone. I wasn't. I was checking the bus schedule for Mason's dentist appointment. The system glitched. He didn't hear. Managers are human, I said. Some are just bad ones. What do I do? You go back tomorrow. You smile, you clock in 29 seconds early, and you bring him a tamale from Carla's cart. She parks out front at 6 a.m. People do a lot for good food. Brooke wiped her face with her sleeve. You're not mad I quit? I'm mad you didn't call me first. That night, I drove to the dealership where Jake worked. It was after 8 p.m., closing time. The lot was lit like a carnival, used cars gleaming under floodlights. Jake stood near a silver Tacoma, talking to a man in a Cowboys jersey. They were laughing. Jake's hand rested on the man's shoulder. Too familiar. I parked across the street and watched. After 10 minutes, the man handed Jake an envelope, thick. Jake slipped it into his jacket like it was nothing. I got out and crossed the lot. Jake saw me and froze. The envelope disappeared faster. Mom, what are you? Show me. He hesitated, then pulled it out. Inside, cash, hundreds, at least 3,000. Side deal, he muttered. Guy wanted the truck off book, no sales tax. I split the commission with the finance guy. I felt the old anger rise, but I swallowed it. Jake Harper, I said, your granddaddy rolled back odometers in the 70s, spent 6 months in county jail. You want to follow that path? His face crumpled. We're drowning, Mom. Rent's due. Mason needs braces. Brooks trying. You're cheating. I took the envelope, counted it, put it in my purse. This goes to the finance guy's widow. He died last year, heart attack, left 3 kids. You'll tell her it was an anonymous donor. Jake opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. I start over tomorrow, he said, clean slate. Clean costs more than cash, I said. Start with the truth. The next morning, I picked Mason up from school. He climbed into the van, clutching a folded paper. Grandma, we're writing letters to Santa early this year, for practice. I smiled. What you ask for? He unfolded the paper. Crayon, careful block letters. Dear Santa, I don't want toys. I want Mommy to stop crying. I want Daddy to come home for dinner. I want Grandma's house back with the big tree. Love, Mason. My hands tightened on the wheel. Santa's busy, I said, but Grandmas have pull. April 30th. The shelter's new transitional home, my old house, was nearly ready. Painters had finished the bedrooms in soft blues and yellows. The playground equipment arrived. Swings, a slide, a sandbox shaped like a turtle. Miss Rosa hung a sign above the front door, Harper House, where love moves in. I stood in the kitchen, running my hand over the counter where I'd rolled out cookie dough for 20 Christmases. A young mom named Tia, 8 months pregnant, fleeing an abusive husband, watched me. This was your home? She asked. Still is, I said, just bigger now. That night, Jake called. Not texted, called. Mom, I told the finance guy's widow, gave her the money. She hugged me, said her kids could eat this month. I waited. I quit the side deals, told my boss. He demoted me to lot attendant, $12 an hour. But it's honest. Good, I said. Brooke got Employee of the Month. They gave her a gift card, $50. She bought Mason new sneakers. I smiled in the dark. One more thing, Jake said. Mason's letter. He showed me. I don't know how to fix that. You start, I said, by showing up. Every dinner, every bedtime, every day. May 15th. An unexpected visitor. I was at the bungalow, helping Brooke hang curtains. She'd sewn them herself from Clarence fabric, when a sleek black SUV pulled up. A woman stepped out. 68, silver bob, designer sunglasses. I recognized her immediately. Delphine, I said. Delphine Watkins, Tom's old investing partner, the one who turned his mechanics bonuses into millions. She'd moved to Houston after Tom died. We hadn't spoken in years. Evelyn Harper, she said, hugging me tight. You look like you could run a corporation. I run a shelter, I said. She laughed. Same thing. Inside, Mason offered her a cookie. Brooke poured iced tea with trembling hands. Delphine got to the point. I heard what happened, the trust, the eviction, the education. She smiled at Jake, who flushed. I have a proposition. She slid a folder across the table. Inside, plans for a nonprofit, Harper Watkins Family Foundation. Focus, financial literacy for single moms, transitional housing, college scholarships for kids like Mason. I'll seed it with $5 million, Delphine said. You run it, your rules, your heart. I stared at the numbers, then at Jake and Brooke. Jake spoke first. We don't deserve. You don't, Delphine said. But those moms do, and that boy does. She nodded at Mason. Brooke's eyes filled. We'll work for free, whatever you need. I closed the folder. One condition, I said. Jake and Brooke are the first employees. Full-time, salary starts at $40,000 each. They earn raises by results, not excuses. Delphine grinned. Done. May 30th. The foundation's first board meeting, held in the bungalow's living room. Folding chairs, a whiteboard. Mason colored in the corner. Agenda. Name the first scholarship. The Tom Harper Second Chance Award. Hire Carla to run the tamale catering for events. Seed money from the foundation. Turn the Manor Road bungalow into staff housing for single moms in the program. Jake took notes. Brooke designed the logo on a napkin. At the end, Mason raised his hand. Can I have a job too? We laughed. I pulled him onto my lap. Your job, I said, is to grow up kind. That's the hardest one. That night, I drove to Harper House. The first family moved in. Tia and her newborn daughter, Lily. I rocked Lily in the nursery, painted soft yellow, crib donated by the church. Tia whispered, Miss Evelyn, how do you do it? Forgive? I thought of Jake's envelope, Brooke's blisters, Mason's letter. I don't forgive, I said. I transform. Pain into purpose, betrayal into boundaries, love into legacy. June blazed in like a furnace. The foundation's first big event was set for July 4th, Harper Watkins Freedom Fair, a backyard carnival at Harper House to raise money and awareness. We had bounce houses, a dunk tank, Carla's tamale truck, and a silent auction with donated items. A signed Cowboys jersey, a weekend at a Hill Country B&B, a year of free oil changes from Jake's dealership. He'd begged his boss. I stood in the Harper House kitchen at 6 a.m., stirring potato salad for 200, when Jake burst through the back door, sweat-soaked and wild-eyed. Mom, we've got a problem. He thrust his phone at me. An email from the city. Permit denied. Noise ordinance. Event canceled. My stomach dropped. We'd sold 3,000 tickets online. Deposits were non-refundable. Volunteers were already en route. Brooke followed him in, apron on, hair in a messy bun. The neighbor complained. Mrs. Langley says the music will scare her cats. I knew Mrs. Langley, 83, lived next door for 30 years. Her cats were named after Beatles songs. Call her, I said. Jake dialed. Speaker on. Mrs. Langley, it's Jake Harper. You're the ones with the racket, she snapped. My Ringo hasn't eaten in 2 days. Jake looked at me helpless. I took the phone. Dorothy, it's Evelyn. Silence. Then, Ev, that you? It's me. Come to the fair. Bring the cats. We'll set up a quiet tent, air-conditioned, tuna sandwiches. You can judge the pie contest. A long pause. Well, I do make a mean pecan. Bring 2, I said. 1 for judging, 1 for eating. Click. Permit reinstated by 7:15 a.m. July 4th. Harper House backyard transformed. Red, white, blue bunting. Kids shrieking in bounce houses. Carla sold out of tamales by noon. Mrs. Langley arrived in a sun hat, Ringo in a stroller, and declared my potato salad adequate. Jake manned the dunk tank in a borrowed fireman's suit, his boss's idea of community service. Every time a kid hit the target, he splashed into the water yelling, "Worth it!" Brooke ran the face painting booth, turning cheeks into flags and butterflies. Mason darted between legs, selling raffle tickets from a red wagon. Win a bike, only $5. At 3 p.m., Delphine took the mic. Thanks to your generosity, we've raised $42,000 tonight, and that's before the auction. Cheers. Fireworks were scheduled for 9, but first, the pie contest. Mrs. Langley won with her pecan. I came in second with lemon meringue. She hugged me stiffly. "Your crust's not bad, Ev." July 5th, the hangover. Jake showed up at my door, still in the bungalow. I'd kept a room for myself, with a man I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, slick hair, gold pinky ring. Smelled like cheap cologne and desperation. "Mom, this is Vince. He's got a deal." Vince grinned. "Mrs. Harper, your son's a natural salesman. I'm opening a used car lot in Waco. Need a partner." Jake brings the Harper name. I bring the capital. 50-50 split. 6 figures year 1. Jake's eyes were bright. Too bright. "It's legit, Mom. No side deals. Just bigger." I looked at Vince's shoes. Italian leather. Scuffed. Desperation in disguise. "Vince," I said, "what's your credit score?" He blanked. "Excuse me?" Simple question. He shifted. "I don't see how that's—" "Jake," I said, "walk him out." Jake hesitated. "Mom." "Now." Vince left muttering. Jake lingered. "I could have tripled our income," he said. "You could have lost everything," I countered. Again. He kicked the porch step. "I'm trying to fix things." "Fixing isn't bigger," I said. "It's better, one honest sale at a time." July 15th. Brooke went viral. A video from the fair. Brooke painting a little girl's face, purple butterfly, perfect wings. The girl's mom, tears streaming, whispered, "She starts chemo tomorrow." Brooke didn't miss a beat. Finished the butterfly, then painted matching ones on her own cheeks. Captioned the clip, "Stronger than cancer. #HarperHouse." By morning, 1.2 million views. Ellen shared it. The Today Show called. Brooke called me from the Walmart break room, sobbing. "They want me on the show in New York. They'll fly us." I laughed until I cried. "Tell them yes, but you're wearing the apron." August 1st. Mason's summer with Grandma. I kept him Monday through Friday. We had a routine. 6 a.m. Pancakes shaped like Texas. 8 a.m. Foundation office. Mason helped by stapling flyers and charming donors. Noon. Harper House playground. He pushed kids on swings, taught them to pump their legs. 3 p.m. Library story hour. I read The Giving Tree. He asked why the tree didn't charge rent. 6 p.m. Dinner with Jake and Brooke. Takeout on the bungalow porch. No phones. One night, Mason asked, "Grandma, are Mommy and Daddy still in trouble?" "They're in school," I said. "Learning takes time." He nodded solemnly. "I'm saving my raffle money for their tuition." August 14th, our anniversary. I drove to the cemetery. Tom's stone was simple. Thomas Harper, beloved husband, quiet investor, loud laugh. I brought pecan pie, Mrs. Langley's recipe, with my crust. I sat cross-legged in the grass. "They're trying, Tom. Jake's honest. Brooke's famous. Mason's perfect." A breeze stirred the oaks. I swear I heard him chuckle. August 20th. The letter. It came in a plain envelope, no return address. Inside, a single sheet, childish scrawl. "Dear Grandma, I know it's not Christmas, but I updated my list. Mommy to smile more. Daddy to stop looking sad. A sleepover at Harper House with the new kids. For you to never be homeless again. Love, Mason. P.S. I asked Santa early. He said ask Grandma." I folded it into my Bible, next to Tom's note. August 25th. The Today Show. Brooke flew to New York with Jake and Mason. I watched from the bungalow, live stream on the ancient laptop. Hoda and Jenna hugged Brooke like old friends. Mason stole the show, announcing, "My grandma's richer than Santa, but she gives better hugs." They raised $180,000 in pledges during the segment. Delphine texted, "We're national." September 1st. Harper House's first graduate. Tia, remember the pregnant mom, moved into her own apartment. She left a note on the nursery wall. Thank you for teaching my daughter her first word, home. I cried in the empty crib. September 10th, Jake's relapse. He came to me after work, hands shaking. Mom, Vince called again, offered double, said I was stupid to turn it down. I waited. I told him no, Jake said, but I wanted to say yes, for a second. That second, I said, is why you're still in school. September 15th, Mason's sleepover. We turned Harper House into a campout. 10 kids, sleeping bags, flashlights. I told ghost stories, gentle ones, about grandmas who turned pain into playgrounds. Mason fell asleep holding my hand. September 20th, the surprise. Delphine arrived with a moving truck. Inside, a tiny house, fully furnished, solar-powered, parked in the Harper House backyard. For you, she said, so you're never homeless again, and so the kids always know where to find Grandma. I moved in that night. 1 room, a porch swing, a pecan tree sapling in a pot. Mason helped carry the first box, my Bible, Tom's note, Mason's letters. Grandma, he said, Santa came early. No, sugar, I said. Love just showed up on time. December 1st, 2025. The tiny house smelled of pine and possibility. I'd strung a single strand of lights around the porch swing, the same one from the old house. Mason called it Grandma's Starship. Harper House buzzed with pre-Christmas chaos. 12 families now called it home. The playground rang with laughter. Carla's tamale truck was parked permanently in the drive, painted red and green Harper House tamales in gold script. We were planning the first Christmas back in the house that love had reclaimed. The invitation. I mailed it myself. Thick cream cardstock, gold foil border. You are cordially invited to the Harper House Christmas Open House, December 24th, 6 p.m. Dress code, come as you are. Bring only your heart. Inside, a handwritten note. Jake, Brooke, Mason, this is your home too. Always was. Love, Mama Evelyn. December 10th, the tree. We cut it down together, a 10-foot cedar from a farm outside McKinney. Jake and Mason wrestled it into the stand while Brooke directed like a general. Left, no, right, tilt it, Jake, you're crushing the angel wing. I stood back, arms crossed, heart full. The ornaments were new, donated by the community, but I'd saved 3 from the old house. A chipped ceramic star Jake made in 2nd grade, a silver bell Brooke bought on their honeymoon, the tiny rocking horse I'd knitted for Mason's first Christmas. We hung them together. No one spoke. We didn't need to. December 15th, Jake's final test. He came to the tiny house after work, still in his dealership polo, grease under his nails. Mom, the lot owner offered me manager, big raise, company car. But he pulled a folded paper from his pocket, a contract. It's in Oklahoma, 3-year commitment. We'd have to move. I poured him coffee, waited. Brooke loves the foundation. Mason's thriving. Harper House is home. He looked at me, eyes pleading. What do I do? I slid Tom's old note across the table, the one from the envelope. Didn't want them to love the money, wanted them to love us. Jake read it, swallowed hard. I turned it down, he whispered, told him my family's not for sale. I hugged him, first time in a year. He smelled like motor oil and redemption. December 20th, Brooke's big decision. She showed up at dawn, still in scrubs. She'd taken a 2nd job as a home health aide. I quit Walmart, she said. Got hired full-time at the clinic. Benefits, PTO. They're paying for my CNA certification. I raised an eyebrow. I start January, she continued, but I have a favor. She handed me a thick envelope. Inside, $3,200 in 20s, crisp from the bank. My first 6 paychecks for the foundation, specifically the Mason Harper Playground Expansion Fund. I stared. Mason drew the plans, she said, pulling a crayon sketch from her purse. a dragon-shaped slide, a zip line, a treehouse with a chalkboard door. He says every kid deserves a castle. I cried. Ugly, snotted grandma tears. December 23rd, the visitor. A knock at the tiny house door, 9 p.m. I opened it to a man I hadn't seen in 30 years. Robert Langford Jr., he said, tipping a worn Stetson. My dad was your lawyer. He passed last month. Left me a box with your name on it. He handed over a small wooden box. Inside, a key, a deed, a letter in Tom's handwriting dated 1998. If you're reading this, Langford Sr. kept his promise. This key opens a safe deposit box at First National, number 412. Inside is the first stock certificate I ever bought, Apple, 100 shares. Bought it the day Jake was born. It's for him when he's ready. Not for cars, not for houses, for roots. Love, Tom. I drove to the bank at 8 a.m. Christmas Eve. The teller, a girl who looked 12, opened the box with trembling hands. Inside, the certificate and a post-it. Current value around $1.8 million. I laughed until I couldn't breathe. December 24th, Christmas Eve. Harper House glowed, every window lit, the tree visible from the street like a beacon. 6 p.m., guests arrived. Miss Rosa in a red sweater, arms full of pies. Carla with a tamale tower. Mrs. Langley with Ringo in a Santa hat. Tia and baby Lily, now walking. Delphine in diamonds and cowboy boots. Jake, Brooke, and Mason were last. Mason carried a gift wrapped in newspaper. For you, Grandma. I opened it, a framed photo. The four of us, Jake, Brooke, Mason, me, standing under the new cedar tree. Taken last week. We were laughing. On the back, in Mason's handwriting, our first real Christmas. Love, your family. 7 p.m., the reveal. I gathered everyone in the living room. The tree lights dimmed. Tonight, I said, we celebrate second chances. But first, a story. I told them everything, the eviction, the shelter cot, the envelope, the trust, the transformation. Gasps, tears, a few amens. Then I turned to Jake. Your granddaddy left you something. I handed him the Apple certificate. He stared, mouth open. Mom, it's yours, I said, when you're ready to plant roots, not run. Brooke clutched his arm. Mason whooped. 8 p.m., Mason's wish. He tugged my sleeve. Grandma, can we do it now? I nodded. We led everyone to the backyard. A tarp covered the new playground addition. Mason pulled the cord. The dragon slide gleamed under string lights. The zip line stretched between two oaks. The treehouse door read, Mason's Castle, all welcome. Kids screamed. Parents cried. Mason hugged my legs. Santa came. No sugar, I whispered. Love did. 9 p.m., the toast. Delphine raised a glass of sparkling cider. To Evelyn Harper, who turned pain into playgrounds, betrayal into boundaries, and a house into a home for hundreds. Cheers. Jake clinked his glass against mine. To Dad, who saw this day before any of us. Brooke added, to the woman who taught us that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's architecture. 10 p.m., the surprise. The doorbell rang. I opened it to a courier. He handed me a thick envelope. Inside, a letter from the state. Harper Watkins Foundation, granted 501c3 status. Retroactive to July 4th. All donations tax deductible. And a check. $500,000. From an anonymous donor. On the memo line, for the dragon. T.H. I looked up at the sky. Snow had started to fall, rare for Texas. Tom. 11 p.m., the tree lighting. We gathered under the cedar. Mason flipped the switch. The tree blazed. Every ornament glowed. Jake put his arm around Brooke. She leaned into him. Mason held my hand. For the first time in a year, we were whole. Midnight, the tiny house. I sat on the porch swing, snow dusting my shoulders. Jake, Brooke, and Mason joined me. Mason yawned. "Grandma, can we open one present tonight?" I smiled. Tradition. I handed him a small box. Inside, a key. "To the treehouse. You're the keeper now." He squealed. Brooke whispered, "We have something too." They handed me a frame. Inside, the original eviction notice. But they'd crossed out eviction and written in Sharpie, "Invitation. You are hereby invited to love us forever. No expiration." I cried. They cried. We laughed through tears. Christmas morning, Harper House. The families woke to stockings stuffed by Santa, aka Delphine's elves. Jake cooked breakfast, burnt pancakes, perfect bacon. Brooke led carols, off-key, beautiful. Mason opened his stocking last. Inside, a note. "Your wish came true. Mommy smiles. Daddy's home. We have a castle, and Grandma's never homeless. Love, Santa and Grandpa Tom." January 1st, 2026, the tiny house porch. Snow had melted into Texas mud, but the dragon slide at Harper House still gleamed. I rocked on the swing with a mug of coffee, watching the sunrise paint the pecan sapling gold. My phone buzzed. "Delphine, CNN wants you. National expansion. Call me." I laughed so hard the swing creaked. January 15th, the offer. Delphine arrived in a helicopter. Yes, a helicopter. Landed in the empty lot behind Harper House like it was nothing. She stepped out in fur-lined boots, clipboard in hand. "Evelyn, the Harper Watkins model is viral. 3 governors called. We're going multi-state." She spread blueprints across my tiny kitchen table. Harper House Houston, opening June. Harper House Atlanta, September. Harper House Chicago, 2028. Funding, $28 million in pledges. My role, National Director of Heart and Home. Salary, whatever I wanted. I traced the Dragonslide logo with my finger. "I'll do it," I said, "if every house has a grandma's cottage in the backyard. Tiny house, for the director, so no one ever forgets where we started." Delphine grinned. Done. February 14th, the inheritance decision. Jake came to the tiny house after work, still in his lock attendant polo. The Apple certificate, now worth $1.92 million, sat between us like a sleeping dragon. "I've thought about it," he said. "Every night." He pushed a folder across the table. Inside, trust documents, Mason Harper Education and Legacy Fund. Investment plan, diversified, conservative, 4% annual draw. Letter to Mason, to be opened on his 18th birthday. Jake's voice shook. "I'm not touching a dime. Not for a bigger house, not for a vacation. It's for him, and for every kid at Harper House who needs braces, or camp, or college." I read the letter. "Dear Mason, Dear Mason, your grandpa bought this the day you were born. He wanted you to know, money is a tool, not a throne. Use it to build castles for others. Love, Dad." I hugged him so hard his polo buttons popped. March 1st, Brooke's secret. She showed up at dawn, pale, clutching a plastic stick. "Evelyn, I'm pregnant." I stared, then laughed, then cried. Jake burst through the door 5 minutes later, still in pajamas. "She told you?" We danced in the tiny kitchen until the coffee pot rattled off the counter. Mason ran in, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Why is everyone yelling?" Brooke knelt. "You're going to be a big brother." Mason's face went through every emotion. Then, "Can it be a girl? I already have a brother, me." March 15th, Mason's first job. The foundation needed a kid ambassador for the Houston groundbreaking. Mason campaigned. Made a poster, "Vote Mason, I know dragons." Gave a speech to the board. "Kids believe in grandmas. Let me tell them why." Wore a tiny hard hat. He won unanimously. His salary, $1 per event, deposited into a college fund. First trip, Houston, April 1st. April 1st, Houston groundbreaking. 500 people, governor, news crews. Mason stood on a milk crate, hard hat crooked. My grandma was homeless once, on Christmas, but she built this. He swept his arm toward the empty lot, for moms like mine, for babies like my new sister, for dragons. Cheers, tears, viral clip, 8 million views in 24 hours. Brooke, 16 weeks along, barely showing, whispered to me, "He's better at this than us." I winked. He had a good teacher. May 1st, the ultrasound. Boy or girl, didn't matter, but Mason insisted on a reveal. We did it at Harper House. Blue frosting equals boy, pink equals girl. Cake from Mrs. Langley. Mason cut the first slice. Pink. He screamed, "I get a sister!" Jake fainted, actually fainted, hit the grass like a sack of flour. June 1st, Harper House Houston opens. I cut the ribbon with a golden tamale cutter, Carla's idea. First resident, a mom named Luz, 3 kids fleeing domestic violence. She hugged me. "Miss Evelyn, you gave me a dragon." July 4th, the letter. Another plain envelope, no return address. Inside, Tom's handwriting, dated December 24th, 1999. Ev, if you're reading this, Langford Jr. kept his word too. Safe deposit box number 413, First National. This one's for you. Not for the kids, not for the house. For the woman who held us together. Buy something ridiculous, or nothing at all. Just know you were always the fortune. Love forever, Tom. I drove to the bank. Box number 413. Inside, a single stock certificate. Berkshire Hathaway, 50 shares. Purchased 1985. Current value, $22.4 million. And a post-it. 4 ridiculous things. T. I sat in the vault and laughed until the guard asked if I needed medical attention. July 15th, the ridiculous thing. I bought it. A 1972 Volkswagen bus. Lime green, restored. Named her Daisy. Mason painted dragons on the side. We took her on a road trip. Plano to Austin, Houston. Slept in the bungalow. Ate tamales on the drag. Parked at Harper House, Houston for story time. Jake drove, Brooke navigated, Mason DJ'd. I sat in the back, wind in my hair, Tom's laugh in my heart. August 1st, the name. Family vote for the baby. Options: Lily, after Tia's daughter. Harper, middle name. Rose, Brooke's grandma. Winner, Ivy Harper. Ivy for growth, Brooke said. Harper for home. September 1st, Mason's 11th birthday. Party at Harper House. Dragon cake. 47 kids. Gift from me, a key. To the Harper Watkins Foundation Vault. Your junior treasurer. $1 a month. Learn early. He saluted. Yes, ma'am. October 31st, Halloween at Harper House. Mason dressed as a dragon. Ivy, still in utero, was a pea pod. We trick-or-treated every cottage. At the last door, Luz handed Mason a candy. "You know," she said, "my son wants to be you when he grows up." Mason blushed under green face paint. November 15th, the final letter. Courier again. This one a thick leather journal. Tom's handwriting on the first page. For Evelyn, the last chapter. Write it when you're ready. I saved the best for last. I opened to the middle. A pressed 4-leaf clover. Underneath. Found this the day we bought the house, 2005. Kept it for luck. Turns out, we made our own. P.S. Check the back cover. Taped inside, a plane ticket. Destination, Ireland. Date, December 20th, 2027. Note, 1 seat, bring Mason. The rest will follow. November 20th, the family meeting. I gathered them in the tiny house. Showed the ticket, the clover, the journal. Jake's eyes filled. Dad planned this? Dad planned us, I said. Brooke rubbed her belly. Ivy's first trip. Mason jumped. Ireland has castles. December 1st, the packing. Daisy the bus got a tune-up. We drive to Dallas, fly to Dublin, rent a cottage in Galway. Mason packed. Dragon stuffed animal. Ivy's first onesie. The four-leaf clover, in a locket now. December 19th, the farewell. Last night in Plano. Harper House families gathered. I stood on the porch. "This isn't goodbye," I said. "It's a bookmark. We'll be back. With stories, with Ivy, with whatever Ireland teaches us." Miss Rosa hugged me. "Bring back a leprechaun." Carla handed me a cooler. "To Molly's, for the plane. Customs will love you." December 20th, DW Airport. We checked in. Jake carried the bags. Brooke waddled 32 weeks. Mason wore a shirt. Big brother, Ireland bound. At security, he turned. "Grandma, one more thing." He handed me a new letter. "Dear Santa and Grandpa Tom, thank you for my sister, dragons, Grandma's bus, Ireland, Ireland. P.S. Can we have a castle there too?" I tucked it into the journal. December 20th, 2026, Dublin Airport. We landed in a soft Irish rain. Mason pressed his nose to the window. "Grandma, the clouds are hugging the ground." Daisy the bus had stayed home, but we'd rented a silver van. Jake drove left-handed, white-knuckled. Brooke clutched the door handle, 8 months pregnant and glowing. Our cottage sat outside Galway, stone walls, thatched roof, a peat fire already crackling. The owner, Mrs. O'Toole, greeted us with soda bread and a twinkle. "Ye must be the Harpers. Tom rang ahead." I froze. "Tom's been gone 4 years." She winked. "Aye, but the dead keep their promises." December 21st, the cliffs of Moher. Wind whipped our coats. Mason ran ahead, dragon scarf flying. Brooke sat on a bench, hand on her belly. Ivy's kicking to the ocean drums. Jake filmed on his phone. For the foundation, proof grandmas can conquer cliffs. I found a 4-leaf clover in the brass, pressed it into the journal. December 22nd, Galway Christmas Market. Wooden stalls, fairy lights, the smell of mulled wine and roasted chestnuts. Mason bought a tiny wooden dragon with his $1 treasurer salary. A busker played Danny Boy on a tin whistle. I cried. Jake hugged me. First time he'd initiated it. December 23rd, the cottage fire. We gathered around the peat bricks. I opened Tom's journal to a blank page. "Tonight," I said, "we write the last chapter together." Mason's entry. "Ireland smells like sheep and magic. Ivy will be born under a rainbow. Grandpa Tom is the wind." Brooke's entry. "I used to think home was a house. Now it's a heartbeat. Mine. Jake's, Mason's, Ivy's, Evelyn's." Jake's entry. "I sold my mom's house for a lie. She gave me a castle for the truth. I'll never forget the lesson." My entry. "Tom, we did it. Pain became playgrounds. Betrayal became boundaries. Love became legacy. The tree still stands." December 24th, Christmas Eve. Mrs. O'Toole knocked at dawn. "The pub's closed, but the back room's yours. Tradition." We walked through misty fields to the Dragon's Rest, a 200-year-old pub. Inside, a Christmas tree made of fishing nets and fairy lights. The locals had heard our story. Someone had posted Mason's speech. They'd prepared a feast. Roast goose, Tom's favorite. Cranberry soda bread. A tamale wrapped in parchment Carla had shipped overnight. The owner, Seamus, raised a pint. "To Evelyn Harper, who taught the world that family isn't blood, it's choice." 8 p.m. Ivy decides. Brooke gasped mid-carol. "My water." Chaos. Jake panicked. "Hospital's an hour away." Seamus grinned. "My wife's a midwife. Back room's clean." Mason's eyes went wide. "Ivy's coming in a pub?" 9:17 p.m. The birth. The back room became sacred. Brooke on a makeshift bed of coats. Jake holding one hand, me the other. Mason at the door, dragon clutched tight. The midwife, Bridget, hummed Silent Night. One push, two. 9:43 p.m. Ivy Harper entered the world under a string of fairy lights, crying like a banshee. Mason whispered, "She's perfect." Jake cut the cord with a pocket knife sterilized in whiskey. I wrapped her in my scarf, the one Tom bought me in 1985. 10 p.m. The toast. Seamus poured whiskey for the adults, apple juice for Mason. "To Ivy Harper," he said, "born in a pub, destined for castles." 11 p.m. The gift. Mrs. O'Toole handed me a small box. Tom left this, said, "For the first grandchild born on Christmas." Inside, a silver clatter ring, baby-sized. On the back, engraved, "Roots, wings, love." Midnight, the tree. We carried Ivy back to the cottage in a laundry basket lined with blankets. Outside, a lone ash tree stood in the yard, strung with solar lights. We hung the clatter ring on a branch. Mason added his wooden dragon. Brooke hung a tiny sock, Ivy's first. Jake hung the four-leaf clover locket. I hung the journal, open to our entries. Snow began to fall, Irish snow, soft as forgiveness. Christmas morning, the cottage. Ivy slept in a drawer. Mason woke us with a whisper. "Grandma, Santa came." Under the ash tree, a single gift. Wrapped in brown paper, tag, "To the Harpers, love, T.H." Inside, a deed. Plot of land, Connemara, 12 acres, cliff views, ruins of a 19th century schoolhouse. And a note. "Build Harper House, Ireland, for the children who need dragons. I bought this the day Mason was born. The circle closes. Love always, Tom." December 26th, the decision. Family vote. Jake, "We expand. I'll oversee construction." Brooke, "I'll run the maternity wing, Ivy's first patients." Mason, "I'll be the dragon keeper." Me, "I'll plant the tree." January 1st, 2028. The return. We flew home. Daisy the bus waited at DFW, engine purring. Harper House, Plano, had grown. A mural on the wall, a dragon with Ivy's face. Miss Rosa met us at the gate. Welcome home, world changers. Spring 2028, Harper House, Ireland groundbreaking. We broke ground on the Connemara land. Mason, 11, in a hard hat. Ivy, 3 months, in a carrier. Jake poured the first concrete. Brooke sang Danny Boy. I planted an ash sapling from the cottage yard. December 24th, 2028. Harper House, Ireland opened. First residents, a mom from Dublin, twins fleeing addiction. The ash tree thrived. Under it, a plaque. In memory of Thomas Harper, who taught us, love doesn't buy gifts, it builds homes. The final chapter, My Hand Tonight. I write this in the Galway cottage, now a guest house for Harper House staff. Ivy toddles. Mason reads to her. Jake and Brooke laugh in the kitchen. The journal is full. I turn to the last blank page. Tom, we did it. The tree still stands. Taller, stronger. Roots in Texas, branches in Ireland. Leaves in every child who calls Harper House home. You were right. We were always the fortune. See you under the ash. Love forever, Ev. Epilogue. Mason, age 18. He'll open this journal on his birthday. With it, the Apple Trust, now $4.2 million, and a letter from me. Plant a tree, Mason. Not for shade, for the next grandma who needs a dragon.